All right, everybody, welcome back to Horn Takes, your Texas football and baseball talk destination. I am Sean Redfern. It is Monday. Mondays always suck. They really suck after a tough loss. And folks, that was a tough loss down in Austin at the hands of the Georgia Bulldogs. We had a good weekend. We met Vince Young and Jamal Charles. That was cool. Got to talk to those guys for a little bit. Saw some old friends at some old tailgates. And that was always a good time. You guys hear me talk about friends a lot, man. We like the friends, man. So good to see some of those guys. Thought the game atmosphere was really good, considering there wasn't a whole lot to cheer about for most of the game for Texas fans. But it is what it is. We talked about it just, I think it was last week. It may have been the end of the week before. Here pretty recently, we just flat out said teams are going to have to start getting used to losing games in the SEC. There is not going to be undefeated teams in the SEC. Too many good teams, too many things can happen in a single game. I mean, we have seen when Alabama and Georgia were running the SEC, we have seen those two teams play each other. One loses. The next time they play each other, the other one wins. It's it's just the nature of the game. You live and learn, right? Sometimes you don't have it that day. And that's okay because ultimately getting into the playoff is the goal. I mean, yeah, you want to win an SEC championship. It's not as important anymore as it used to be. Going undefeated is not important anymore as it used to be. In fact, it's basically not important at all. So it's Monday. We'll do drunk Sean thoughts. Again, we tried to do it yesterday, man, but after a long drive home, I just wanted to chill. These weekends get harder and harder the older I get. Because we go at it hard and they're quick turnarounds. We drove down on Friday, went to the game. We were out all day Saturday, partying, tailgating, having a good time. Didn't get to bed till late. Woke up early, got packed up, and came home. From Austin, it's about a 5.5, 6 hour drive for us. So yeah, man, I'm flat worn out. I'm still feeling it a little bit, but we feel a little bit better today. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. You can listen to the podcast at Apple Podcast, iHeart Podcasts, Spotify Podcast. If you have no access to either of those things, if you're listening to this, I know you got internet. Check out horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com. All the episodes go up there. Every last one of them from the very beginning is there. So let's get into these drunk Sean thoughts. And keep in mind, folks, these are my thoughts as I'm watching this game in the stadium. If I'm at home, we're not in the stadium. These are my thoughts watching the game in real time. I take my phone out and I write down notes in my phone. I'm that dude. And these are drunk Sean thoughts. So some of these are coherent, some of them are not. Some of them might be wrong. Just completely wrong. And if they are, we always correct them the next day. So keep that bit of context in mind as you listen to this. Games like this are why I am always talking about the running game. And why I'm always critical of Steve Sarkisian either not trying or just giving up on the running game. Listen, I know you got Quinn Ewers. I know at the beginning of the season he was a first round pick guy. I know he was on everybody's Heisman watch list. I know you've got a fabulous wide receiver room. So I think having the plan to come in and throw the football in this game, perfectly reasonable. I'm sure Steve Sarkisian thought this is where I can attack the Georgia defense. This is the best place to attack them. And that's great. But when your plan doesn't work, you got to be able to do something else. And I know the game got out of hand pretty quickly. But they didn't even try to run the football in this game. I don't know how many carries they had. I bet half of them were sacks that aren't really even carries. I think you got to be able to run the football, and you got to be able to pose a credible threat to run the football. You got to be balanced. And it is so frustrating to me to watch this team be able to do it, and they just don't do it. They won't do it. The coach will not do it. And then you get yourself in a position where you can't do it anymore. Like you couldn't. He couldn't in the second half run the football. It just you weren't going to win that game running the football. And so Georgia comes out in the second half, and all they have to do is worry about rushing the passer and keeping the ball in front of them because there's no other threat. So you take a bad situation and you just make it worse if you cannot do anything different. And by the way, this goes for the opposite direction as well. I mean, you look at some of the you know what's interesting? The service academies, they're starting to throw the ball around a little more because they realize they can't just go out and run the ball every single play and beat people because it's too easy to defend. It's too predictable. So a few weeks ago, I was okay. I wasn't happy. I was okay, and I just kind of resigned to myself again. I know I've resigned myself to this multiple times, but I had just kind of fully said, you know what? Feel like this team can run it when they want to. Steve Sarkisian will make the right decision on when that is, and I'm okay with that. I'm off the wagon, guys. I can't do it anymore. I can't sit there and say that's okay anymore because it is not. It is absolutely not. And I don't want to hear, oh, but Cedric Baxter. I don't want to hear that shit. You got you got perfectly good running backs. I'd argue that the three guys they have right now at the top of that group are some of the most talented in the country. Maybe he doesn't trust them. Maybe he trusts Quinn Ewers more. I don't know. The Texas offense took absolutely zero. And if you could take negative advantage of something, then I would go ahead and say they took negative advantage of all of that the defense created for them earlier in that game. Two turnovers, one basically at midfield. They cannot do shit. I mean, they can't do nothing. We always talk about putting your boot down on someone's neck when you get a chance. They just can't do it. Can't do it consistently. And they lost the football game because of it. Talked in the four keys about the offense needing to start fast. By the way, We'll get a lot deeper into the four keys on tomorrow's show, the after action review, but we missed on all of them pretty much. Like all of the four keys that we had for this game for Texas, they missed on them. So the fact that they only lost 30 to, I mean, I know everybody keeps calling this like an ass whipping or a blowout. It's a 2-score game. This was a 1-score game at the end of the third quarter. This was absolutely not a blowout. It was just a fuck ton of missed opportunities. I think, I'm 47 years old, and I think I just now saw the most absolutely bizarre moment in sports I've ever seen. And I might be missing something. I don't know. But that pass interference thing about midway through the third quarter was just an unbelievably wild, weird, bizarre moment for me. First of all, the flag came from I guess they're a back judge. Maybe I don't know what all the positions on the crew are, but the dude that threw that flag, he might need Tommy John surgery for how far he threw that fucking flag. I'm sitting there watching the play happen like basically right in front of us. So I'm watching the play, and then all of a sudden I see this fucking flag that looked like a Hail Mary pass, and you see dude come running in. So this guy, I mean, surely there was somebody closer to that play than that. If not, then that's probably why they miss calls literally all the time in football these days. Secondly, there was nothing on that play that even remotely resembled any penalty in football. Like it is unbelievable to me the stuff that these guys will just like completely overlook. Like they're staring right at it and they will not throw a flag. And then in one of the most crucial points of a football game, that's the penalty flag you decide to throw? That's the hill you want to die on? Play that was like a quarter of the field away from you? I cannot wait to watch the replay of this so I can see where the nearest official was and what kind of look he had at this. Then, of course, the Texas fans lose their fucking minds. It wasn't all Texas fans. It was the student section. They lose their damn minds, start throwing shit out onto the field, which I 100% do not condone. I will not defend. I will not justify any adult that defends or justifies that. I can't fuck with you. I I I I, I just don't, and I'm not going to. That hurts your feelings. I don't give a shit. And, and so I don't know what I. They didn't review it because you can't review penalties. Well, back in the old days in the Big 12, you could review penalties, and you could just review one play and like decide to throw a penalty that you didn't throw during the actual play. You could do that on the review. That's happened a bunch of times. I've seen that multiple times. So I guess they get together and have a conversation and decide it's not pass interference, which good for them for making the right call. Like in the end, I just don't see. I mean, If that was pass interference, then there better be a fucking pass interference penalty on every single play of every single game that crew calls the rest of the year. That dude better have that guy better need like an ice pack, some icy hot, like chiropractor readjustment after every single game. If that right there was pass interference. I mean, so let's just say they don't overturn that. And by the way, if anybody out there thinks that was pass interference, like I get you hate Texas. That's fine. I get maybe you're just a big time Georgia fan. That's fine. The amount of like the complete lack of objectivity people have is like baffling. I mean, am I the only person on the planet that can look at something that happens to Texas or against Texas and say, yeah, that was the right call, even if it was negative for Texas? Am I the only person that could do that? I must be. I must be the only college football fan on the fucking planet that isn't just party line. That can actually go, yeah, man, that was a penalty. Or no, that I don't know why they called that penalty on them. That wasn't a penalty. So don't come at me with this. You're a Texas fan. Of course, you thought it wasn't a penalty. No human being in their right fucking mind thought that was a penalty. So all y'all that do, go get yourselves checked. Y'all got problems. Not going to win a lot of games turning the ball over 4 times, especially when you're turning the ball over on your end of the field constantly. We said on Four Keys, Georgia not good at taking the ball away this year at all. So if you're Texas, you cannot let that be. You cannot allow their weakness to be something that impacts this game. What do? They go out and they turn the ball over 4 times. 4 fucking times, man. I don't know the exact number. I recall saying that Georgia had 6 turnovers all season headed into this game. And if that's the truth, then 40% of their turnovers happened in this game on Saturday night. It's unacceptable. Texas has turned the ball over 7 times in the last 3 games. Unacceptable. Fix it. I thought despite giving up 30 points and really not being able to generate much of a pass rush at all, and I thought that was something Texas would be able to do. I thought the defense played well enough to win. But like we said earlier, man, the offense so negatively impacted this game for the defense that there wasn't anything I mean, the defense would have had to turn those 3 interceptions into touchdowns themselves. That is the only way Texas was winning that game Saturday night. I mean, you cannot overstate how absolutely atrocious the offense was on Saturday night. Texas might have won that game if they just like kneeled the ball and punted it most of the game. Instead, they turned it over inside their own end of the field 4 fucking times. Free points, Georgia. You guys aren't good enough. Here's some free points. Quinn Ewers, that dude has got injury PTSD. I don't want to hear. No, there's no such thing as more rust. I don't want to hear the offensive line played poorly. I don't want to hear any of that shit. Quinn Ewers has PTSD from injuries. When he feels any kind of pressure, he does one of three things. He goes backwards, he tries to escape the tackle box sideways, or he just freaking stands there and panics. He will not step up in the pocket. There was plenty of opportunities for him to step up in the pocket on Saturday. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch this game again tonight. First time I've seen the replay, the broadcast. I was there live, and that's the sense I got. I said it out loud one time. Why won't this dude just step up in the pocket? Man, just step up in the pocket. Fourth and whatever it was at the end of the game. 4th and 6. Got to make a play. Runs backwards. Throws the ball. Yeah, it was complete. But it was such a bad pass that Wingo fell down trying to catch it. I, man, I love Quinn, and I've been saying all season, this is Quinn's team. This is Quinn's team, but I don't know that he's going to recover from this mental thing. It's all mental, man. There's nothing physical. There's not a physical problem here. And I don't know how to fix it now. I mean, the only way I could think to fix it would be to sit there in my preparation, and I'm just talking about me here. Like, this is how I would have to fix it for myself. And just imagine I'm getting rushed and, like, make an effort to step up in the pocket. And just start making that decision from today through Saturday. I'm going to step up in the pocket. And yeah, man, I might get my ass knocked off. But I'm stepping up in the pocket. Hell, it may even be the wrong decision, but I'm going to step up in the pocket. Georgia put on a fucking show getting back there and putting pressure on him. And I don't know how many sacks they ended up with. It was a lot. Most of those sacks were on Quinn Ewers because he will not step up in the pocket. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I hope the best for him. I don't hate Quinn Ewers at all. I'm not even going to say Quinn Ewers shouldn't be the starting quarterback. I'm just saying, if that guy cannot get over this mental thing he's got, and I think it's probably because of the injuries. And I get it, man. That's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's the life you chose, man. You want to be a big time quarterback. You want to be in the NFL, dude. You're gonna have to learn to step up in the pocket. The shit you're doing right now ain't gonna work in the NFL. Your career will be quick and done. Because the NFL, your offensive line ain't blocking everybody for 5 seconds. You got a very short window to get the snap, take your drop, make your reads, step up, and deliver an accurate football. And that's it. Like, if the expectation is that Quinn Ewers is just going to get to stand back there for the rest of this season, it ain't going to happen. And I'm not trying to put it all on him. The loss is not all on Quinn Ewers. Don't get me wrong. I just think, man, he's there's a lot of stuff, and I want to verify all this stuff, so I'm not gonna go off on a complete negative Quinn Ewers rant or anything. But I probably will tomorrow once I verify all these things I think are true by watching the game again. Man, I hope they can get. I didn't. I felt like I saw a tweet after the game about what he said about getting taken out of the game. He just doesn't sound like a confident guy. I don't know. I don't know him. Obviously, Sark does. He's been there 3 years. always moments in a game, right, where like they go one way or the other. They're like pivotal moments, right? And I thought sitting there at the end of the third quarter, Texas has all the momentum. I believe it was a 23-15 game at that point. They just scored a touchdown, got a 2-point conversion. They got 3rd and long on Georgia, backed up deep in their end of the field. And Georgia hits probably their, second biggest pass play of the game. The very next play was some, I don't know, like it was like some tight end little leak out into the flat that 0 people covered. I think they picked up 40-something on that. But I think probably that play right before that was probably their biggest pass play of the game to that point. Georgia eventually goes on to score, makes it 30-15, and that's the end of the Texas threat. So you never want to go this one play costs us the game, because absolutely that's not true. If you won all the other plays of the game, you'd be winning the game. That one play wouldn't matter. But man, it was a pivotal moment in that game. All the momentum. I mean, you could just feel the air come out of Darrell K. Royal when they completed that pass. Texas offense right now is just absolutely too streaky. It is either electric and nobody on the planet could stop it, or it is 100% incapable of executing anything. They're either scoring points in chunks, or they can't move the ball for shit. And I don't think the electric side of it is sustainable. It's not going to always be like that. And I don't think you're going to win a lot of games if you can't execute somewhat consistently offensively. And I don't know what that's a product of. Like I don't have the answer. I don't get paid $10 million a year to know the answer and fix it. I know they got to fix it though. I mean, this season it was a really promising season, could go right down the shitter really quick. You got to go on the road to Vandy, who's their top 25 team today. That's crazy. Congrats to Vandy. Been a hell of a season for those guys. Then you got Arkansas, you got Kentucky, you got Texas A&M. I mean, if Florida can rush the passer, who knows what happens in that game? I don't know if they can. I've only seen them play a couple times this year. But this Texas team, folks, they got 2 choices. They can roll over and quit, or they can go back to work. They can get after it, and they can go beat Vandy. 17.5-point early favorite over Vanderbilt. I don't know if I agree with that. I think that's probably a little disrespectful to Vandy. But then I think, man, if you just don't turn the ball over 4 times, probably beat Georgia on Saturday night. And there was Junk Sean thoughts from the Georgia and Texas game. I have a lot more thoughts, but I only allot myself like 30 to 45 minutes a day to talk. So we'll be back on Tuesday with the after action review. Find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Give us a subscribe, give us a follow. Won't cost you guys a thing. We sure do appreciate the support. Email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. Always good to meet new folks. We did some of that. We saw some guy. Hey, man, I recognize your voice. I know I watch you on TikTok all the time, so that's awesome, man. Always good to see people recognize me. Makes me feel famous for like 10 seconds. Guys, have a good rest of the Monday. We'll after action review and be back tomorrow. Y'all get hooked.